But I'm saying an egg is just an egg, and that's terrible to say you'd pay $50,000 for it.
Look, I didn't finish. I say you're not right, but you're also not wrong.
Okay.
Because of the art thing.
No, he's comparing Christopher Nolan's unique hard work body of work and saying it is a piece of art that he didn't have to put any effort for.
No, I didn't say he didn't put effort because
no, that's what you're saying. You're saying basically the story has no effort in it.
On.
That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. You're saying it's a freaking egg.
High concept.
Hold on.
Sean Connery was a dog.
Connery has such a unique charm to him. You want to kiss him right now. Dude, I can't take it.
Welcome back to the Wacky Wonderful Wiseworks podcast, everybody. All you guys, gals, geeks, and goofballs.
Yeah!
We're here for you, and we're here for the
laughs, the films,
and for the
stories?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
And the stories. Have you guys ever thought?
No.
All right.
I don't think.
I swear we've started the podcast off exactly that same way before.
Deja
What are you talking about?
Have you guys ever... No. Oh, all right.
Really?
Half the
swear.
podcast open up with you asking a question and we throw you off.
Hold on. I need to freaking understand what is the deterrent from me asking genuine questions?
We just like to annoy you.
You ask them quite often. Usually they make you have to deep down pull from your soul, and then, you're like,
and then
I don't want to have to tickle my soul
half
today.
Half the time you go, wait, hold on.
What are you talking about?
Or you do that.
Oh, come on now. Stop.
You're just a series of tropes. That's your whole personality.
I'm not a trope.
I didn't say you were a trope. You're
I'm
a series of them.
We've been doing this podcast too long.
We know each other's things.
Yeah.
Okay, did you guys watch You? The Netflix show.
I watched the first season.
And
all of it?
Yes.
Did you watch season 4 yet?
I started it. I probably will not finish it.
What are you talking about?
And I'll tell you why. So, You was very good. I don't remember having this in it. There's a lot of very just woke narrative thrown into this season more than the other seasons.
But it is for the dark humor of it. Like it's always You always is the woke narratives, the woke talking points are always at the expense of the dark humor or the narcissistic view of world. Yes.
Not always.
Yeah, because it's dealing with trash people constantly.
Okay.
And Joe is a trash person. He's a serial killer essentially.
Oh yeah.
In the middle of all of these trash people.
Yeah.
Have you seen You?
I didn't get past the first season.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this: season 4, we only have half the season right now. I finished the first half. The second half's coming out in March. Season 4 was what we wanted from Glass Onion.
Really?
Yes.
I'm not very far into it, so maybe I just haven't gotten to that
Season
yet,
4, in my opinion, when I see it now, it's obviously in the You universe. We're dealing with Joe, the character, and all that. But as far as the thrill of the mystery, it is what we wanted from Glass Onion.
You just like him because he's Joe.
No, because in this season, he's Jonathan.
He is Jonathan, but no, he's Joe. He just changed his name because he's in England.
To go back to what I opened with, I was going to say, do you guys kind of understand who Joe as a character is?
Yeah.
Okay. He's essentially a serial killer, but we live in his head this whole show.
Yeah.
Do you feel sympathy for him at all?
The first season I did. I don't know how I would feel about him in later seasons, but the first season, he seemed like, I don't know, it was weird because he didn't have a problem connecting with the girl he was stalking on a personal level.
Right.
He met her. He liked her, he talked to her, he flirted with her, and then he probably went too far, learned everything about her, but even then, even learning about her, he didn't necessarily do anything bad.
Well,
until he started doing bad things.
Well, he was collecting creepy things.
He was collecting data. He was doing these.
He was
kinds
collecting
of things.
creepy things.
Yeah,
mementos from her trash cans, and
right?
Such.
So that he could know who she was.
Well, so he could have his dark fantasies.
Right. So he could know who she was, but so that he could ultimately be in a relationship with her. And so I was kind of like, okay, I get it. I understand what he's doing. He doesn't feel like he can connect with somebody unless he truly knows who they are and knows things about them that maybe even they don't know.
No,
and it's creepy, but
you haven't watched 2 or 3. I don't know. Whatever. When the one he's married or the wife and has
Love.
a kid. Yeah, Love. So he finds the girl he loves,
mm-hmm.
and then he's like, "No, I don't want this girl. I want a different girl." So he gets to what you're saying, and he has the relationship and realizes there's more to it than that.
No,
yeah.
It's basically he can't. There's something about him that doesn't allow once he's got what he wants, he doesn't want it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, he
wants something new.
Right.
He wants
he's a
girl.
serial stalker.
Yes.
He enjoys that.
Or he fights with, since we have this inner monologue, he fights with the desire to want to do that nonstop all the time. Is serial stalking girls that he's fascinated with.
Yeah.
And once he gets the girl, he doesn't like him. And they usually end up dying. So, season 4 is a cool twist. And I don't know how the last bit is going to be, but it is a fun ride. And I'll tell you, it is a better mystery story than Glass Onion was by a long shot. It's very cool. And it's a different take. I mean, it's the same character, but a different take in a different setting with new people that are now more intimidating to him probably than he's been with anybody. So it's really cool. It's really cool. I would say if you're a fan of the show and you haven't seen season 4 yet, it's pretty good. It's pretty enjoyable. That's all I had to say to open up. And you guys decided to cut me off rudely.
We're just like messing with you.
I understand. Is there any seriousness inside of you when you like, yeah, Joe just says these things and I shouldn't. I'm gonna cushion it with a joke, but I really probably should. We should cut him off.
Wait, what do you mean we should cut him off?
Because he's digging himself into a hole, or he's going somewhere I don't want. I know you do that, but you're my brother. You're just like, I'm tired of hearing your voice.
He's going somewhere I don't want to talk about. So redirect. I don't know. We do that sometimes.
Honestly, though,
but most of the time I do
cut you off because you bring them up at the worst time. I'm always.
What are you talking about?
Usually, I tell you like, hey, let's talk about this time. Right now, I don't want to talk about this, and so
everything revolves around what Josh wants to do.
Yeah, at that moment.
Hey, I don't want to talk about this.
That's right.
You asked.
Sometimes I need the freedom to bring up what I need to bring up. And if it needs to be an argument, or it needs to be a celebration session, or it needs to be a giggle fest, it needs to happen. And you are the cooler of that. Of
the foil.
The foil of those kind of moments. So my question, I don't have a question. I guess this is a plea. Stop. I need.
Let me be myself.
Let me be me.
Let me be myself.
Speaking of
the island that he is.
Speaking of islands. Okay, so I would like to cover with you guys. I want to explore and we can talk about if these truly are failures or wastes. Okay, so in movies, there are constantly situations where movies waste money or waste effort, right? And sometimes, because the millions and millions of dollars process of movie making is a high bar, essentially, there is a lot of money that's wasted, and there's a lot of they're pretty detrimental, right? So I have 4 examples of pretty big failures or pretty big wastes during productions. All right, and we're gonna cover them, and I want to get your thoughts on each. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll discuss these. We'll learn a little bit about why they're waste. The first one, as Joshua brought up with Island.
You never changed it.
Hold on. Do all of them do this?
Yeah.
Dang it.
Why did you do it that way?
I just copied and pasted and forgot.
Ah, you copied and pasted.
I forgot.
A rookie mistake.
From the first slide.
Okay, we might have...
That was my plan all along.
We might have cube rotations throughout this first segment.
That's funny.
Okay?
Well, this is going to happen for the rest of the season because you know this is
I'm never going to remember to take this cube rotation off. All right, Waterworld, starring Kevin Costner?
Kevin Bacon.
Costner.
Yeah.
Costner, yeah.
Okay, so according to... Let me just check out IMDb real quick. According to IMDb...
Sheesh.
So the film cost
there it is.
An estimate of $175 million to make. In opening weekend, it only made $21 million.
Yeah.
Gross in U.S. and Canada was $88 million.
Mm-hmm.
And total, they made it past their budget, but who knows how long it took them to get here.
Yeah.
So $264 million against 175. So they didn't even make $100 million long term off of this film.
Right.
All right. So it is considered a failure. Plus, a lot of people didn't like it.
Have you guys seen it?
I saw it one time. It was a long time ago. It was on the VHS.
Wow.
I saw it.
Classic.
You knew who showed it to us? I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure it was your Aunt Christina.
Could be.
I'm pretty sure it was your Aunt Christina.
This is a mess of a movie, and it is absolutely enjoyable.
No.
Gosh, it is so fun to watch.
It's those type of movies when you're done watching it, you feel weird and gross a little bit.
I
don't know why
Maybe
I feel that way.
Isn't it kind of, I mean, I need my memory refreshed, but isn't it basically like Mad Max on water?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's high concept, and it wasn't executed perfectly, but there's a lot of really great like practical effects and stunts and really fun stuff that happens in the movie, and a really interesting story. It just, nothing worked for this movie. Maybe, the ad campaign didn't work. The movie didn't work for audiences in general. It's just, it's Mad Max that didn't work.
Okay.
I think Wall-E did it better.
Wall-E is nothing like this.
Well, they put the plant in.
Okay. You know what? Maybe Wall-E is similar.
Okay. Because the film did not do well, the whole film is considered a waste, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But I will say there is a large amount of effort and money that was put into something that, because the film was not accepted very well, is even bigger a waste. All right, so a colossal $22 million, or more than 10% of the film's entire budget, was spent on assembling a gigantic quarter-mile Maine atoll set, which is basically the circle, all right, the ring, which weighed 1,000 tons and used up all of the available steel materials in Hawaii.
Wow.
All of it.
Yeah.
For a film that ultimately didn't
and
work.
See, that's why as we moved into the current filmmaking era,
right,
we started moving away, production started moving away from the big practical things because they were such a waste of money.
And effort.
If it didn't work, if the movie didn't pan out.
Which this is the example.
But they were also betting Costner was, a big star at this point.
Yeah.
So they
were
thought
thinking
Costner was going to sell.
Yeah, they were like, oh, Kevin Costner's going to, the name's going to sell the movie.
It's Mad Max, it's on the water, look at these amazing sets and practical things that we're doing.
Which they did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the movie, it really is...
What year did this movie come out?
Decent production value.
It's very good production value.
What year did this movie come out?
I think 1995. I think the year I was born.
Wow.
Let me see. It's
oh,
on
that's
IMDb.
why. It came out way late.
Yeah, 1995 in my tab.
Yeah, you're right. We were moving away from this
We were
thing.
moving into, those animal sports movies at this point.
Yeah, we're Air Bud, MVP. All
they
those.
should have made an Air Bud.
We were also transitioning into stuff like Matrix with lots of CGI and
Fast and Furious.
Different kinds of high concept sci-fi. So the old concept sci-fi, which was like even go back to Conan, Mad Max,
Blade Runner,
they weren't probably working as well.
No.
This was too late on the game.
No, yeah, they should have.
If this had come out in 1982,
it probably would have made money.
Probably would have made so much money.
They should have got rid of the big circle thing and invested in a golden retriever, and they would have been gold.
Yeah.
You mean the set?
Yeah.
If the whole thing was about a dog,
yeah. A dog on water,
on
maybe.
water.
Maybe that would have worked.
Yeah.
Or a goldfish in
But
water.
it was an interesting idea because he is, the Earth has been underwater for so long.
Right.
People are trying to survive, and this guy comes in and he's got dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And, he can just trade in this dirt for money and supplies and everything. And then, and later in the movie, you find out he's just swimming to the bottom of the ocean.
Grabbing it.
And grabbing sand.
Yeah.
Because he's as time goes on, he's kind of evolved like fish gills,
Which is wild.
Yeah.
It's a wild concept. It's fun.
And I as a kid, I always thought, well, why didn't he stay on the island with the people? And then as I got older, I realized, nah, he's an ocean man.
He is.
He's
an ocean rat.
He's an ocean person. He that's where he lives. That's where he's most comfortable.
Was this the only example you had of
Of Waterworld?
No, of wasting money.
Oh, I have 3 more.
Oh, okay. I thought there was.
What do you think? I'm ill prepared?
I don't know if you want to just talk about this. What's the next
All
one?
right, so the next one, spoiler alert.
Never seen this.
I have not
movie.
seen A Knight's Tale.
Never seen A Knight's Tale.
I haven't seen it all the way through.
Okay, so none of us have really seen A Knight's Tale, but we don't need that. I believe it's a comedy, is it not?
It's kind of a comedy. It's kind of this weird mixture. It's like a medieval movie, but it's got a lot of really like modern music.
That's
okay.
That's Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
I don't know about Jake. I know Heath is the lead.
The one guy is in this one.
Jake Gyllenhaal's in this one.
No.
Look.
What's his face? The one that Jonathan said that we don't know.
Oh yeah. He's in everything. He was in Psych recently. What was he in? Was he in You? Was he just in You? I can't remember.
He's in
He's
all
in
sorts
everything.
of things.
He's always in the background. Yeah, he is in this. What's his name?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
No.
Why'd you point at me and say he's in this then?
Where?
It's A Knight's Tale.
What apostrophe S? Okay, so I'm gonna pull it up because, where the freak is he?
This guy?
No, Alan.
Yeah, Alan
Tudyk.
Tudyk, right here. Yeah. He's in everything.
Oh yeah.
He is
the background guy.
Now, okay, when I might have told this already, but when Jonathan left that comment on our video, he's like, I can't respect a podcast who doesn't know who Alan Tudyk is. And I responded with, I'm literally watching a film, looking at his face right now, and wasn't expecting to be.
And in the video he commented on, I was like, I love Alan Tudyk. He's in everything.
Yeah.
And then I named other movies he's
Can you
in.
zoom in just a little bit more? I can't see his face quite yet.
All right, here we go.
Can't really read that small text.
Okay, Alan Tudyk.
He plays Watt.
Tudyk?
He plays Watt in A Knight's Tale.
Tudyk?
All right, so
what would we waste money on here? Is that on Heath Ledger's hair?
Now this is a good one. Okay. In the film's third act, keep an eye out for the above establishing shot. This is written strangely, where you might notice the faint presence of a London eye in the periphery. A whole 600-ish years before it was actually constructed and 500 years before the first Ferris wheel was ever built, no less.
Yeah.
I have the example. There it is.
There it is.
Hold on, I can't see because that light's in the way.
It's way up here.
Okay.
It's a tiny Ferris wheel. They spent $500,000 building this for this shot as a gag.
And they still got the...
Just CG it in. Or just just overlay a picture. You don't have CG. They were doing that in Star Wars at this point.
Okay, I need to see what the budget was for this film.
Ridiculous.
$500,000 for that.
For that.
Just hidden in the background.
That's ridiculous.
I need to see how much money this thing
IMDb,
spent.
you gotta fix your setup.
$65 million. So what is 500,000? Like, what is that? 2% of the budget
Yeah, I mean it's still a big chunk of change.
for a nothing?
That's
For
a
a
chunk.
pointless.
And then how much did we gross?
we grossed
Oof.
not a lot
That's
more.
unfortunate.
Yeah, they didn't do a whole lot of good.
Someone left a comment on one of our videos where we talked specifically about budgets and stuff.
Oh, for the audio listeners, I'm sorry. They grossed worldwide $117 million over the course of the whole thing, but opening weekend was only $16 million.
Wow. They made a comment, and I didn't really understand what they meant by this. Maybe you can clear it up. They said sometimes they make movies that they know are probably going to flop because of tax write-off.
Yeah, but this isn't like this and Waterworld shouldn't be one of those movies.
Flops.
Not when you get a star.
Yeah, the ones that they do that with, they've got like 15 stars. You know, because
or Kevin Hart played in it,
or Kevin Hart. Yeah,
man from Toronto.
It's actually Toronto.
I know, that was the whole controversy because Canada, like, what is his Woody Harrelson was like, stop. Was like, he's supposed to be the Canadian from Toronto.
Yeah,
and he calls it Toronto. The whole film. Yeah, every Canadian was like,
Well, I learned from
we don't call it that.
What's his name? Jordan Peterson.
He said Toronto. Toronto.
He said it's Toronto.
Toronto. That second T is silent.
And I don't think you're making a very fair point.
You've been working on Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
All right. So A Knight's Tale had a practical Ferris wheel gag, $500,000, pointless for the story, and it's barely noticed.
Is the Ferris wheel supposed to be there? I don't think it's supposed to be there.
No, 100% it's not supposed to be there. They built it there as a gag.
They built the Ferris wheel.
Yes.
The London Eye.
No, this is not the London Eye.
Right. This Ferris wheel.
They built a London Eye in London
600 years before it was built.
Well, it's like watching The Count of Monte Cristo when at the end Edmund is fighting with
I don't
know.
The
guy from Memento.
It's
been a while.
Guy Pearce.
And
they're in the field and they're fighting, and if you look in the distance, you can see power lines.
Oh, yeah.
But that's an accident.
Yeah, that was an accident.
It's an accident, but
it's intentional as intention gets.
Yeah, when you're on a big scope like that.
They did this for the giggles. Just for us to be like, oh, is that the London Eye?
They wasted $500,000
for this.
Yeah, for
you
a
can't
gag.
even see it. No one knows about this.
I guarantee someone's gonna comment on this video and say like, no, they actually built it, or it was already built or something like that. And they're gonna be like, no, you guys got it wrong.
Maybe it is a tax write-off. Because what's the point of building that unless it's like, you know.
Maybe they needed to spend money and they're like, let's make a really expensive joke. Maybe. We're going to, in the distance, very hard to see, we're going to make the London Eye, and it's going to be barely noticeable. And people that notice it will be like,
It's a little bit too expensive for a gag.
I don't know. It's what they did it intentionally. Why else would they have done it? It was a gag. It had to have been. Just shrug your all right, fine. We'll go to the next one.
I mean, I don't think there's much more to say about it. They wasted money.
They wasted money, and we're going to see more wasting of money.
Sahara.
This was one of those movies that they
had to. No, I don't think so.
A dud.
Because starring Matthew McConaughey, Penelope Cruz. All right,
and Zahn.
Zahn.
Big Zahn.
You know, you cut him out because
the two mains.
He was a big name at this point.
Lead male, lead female.
And the third wheel.
Yes,
Zahn is the star of this movie.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull up their IMDb.
So if you know anything about these characters, I don't remember. What's the name? Who is this supposed to be?
You mean the
who's he playing?
Explorer guy?
Stop at the. I want to see. Go up. Who's Matthew McConaughey playing?
Look, Rainn Wilson is in this movie.
Dirk Pitt.
So in the books, Dirk Pitt
is that Brad Pitt's brother?
He's an adventurer. He's Indiana Jones. Right?
Yeah.
It's like a Clive Cussler, I think.
Or Uncharted.
No, it's a book. It's a Clive Cussler novel.
Oh.
And you know he's supposed to be like a short, stocky, muscular guy, and I don't think McConaughey is a bad casting, but Zahn's character is a big, tall black man in the book. Yeah.
So they got Steve Zahn to play a tall black man?
Yeah.
and obviously he didn't play the black man, but they just recast it. Oh my gosh,
I've seen it.
So
yeah, it's supposed to be in the book. They're very serious, cool characters. Mm-hmm. In the movie, it's got a more comedic twist.
Okay, so the big waste. The film's bloated budget is the stuff of Hollywood legends when the production paying out $237,000 in bribes and gratuities to the Moroccan locals. All right?
Wait, what?
While a committee of 10 screenwriters were paid a total of $3.8 million, and most hilariously of all, $2 million was spent filming a plane crash sequence, which ultimately was cut from the film. There was a plane crash sequence in Sahara that didn't make it in the film that cost $2 million.
So we're paying 10 screenwriters.
10 screenwriters, $3.8 million.
We're paying locals, and we're paying for a scene that doesn't make it in the movie.
Yeah. Whew. This kind of, the local bit reminds me of, if you guys watched The Offer, which I know you haven't, but people that watched The Offer about the making of The Godfather, they were kind of doing that to the Mafia. Like, the Mafia was skimming off the top of that production the entire time because they were like, we don't like that you're making fun of our people with this movie. And then the producer got the Mafia guys on board. So they're like, awesome, sounds great, we're gonna make an awesome film, now give me a cut. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
watch this.
Yeah, The Offer's really good.
Maybe
but
sneak in your account, maybe.
But they reminded me of it with the paying the locals and bribes and gratuities, right? But $2 million on a deleted scene.
Yeah. That's wild.
That's rough. And the thing is, the film, to me, is enjoyable.
I love watching this movie.
I wish they would have left it in.
This actually has a little bit of personal history for me.
Yeah.
Because there is still a running joke with my uncle.
Oh.
That, when we see each other, we say, "Hi, how are you?" Because that was Zahn's line in the movie. He was always like, "Hi, how are you?"
How are you?
So me and my uncle still do that. I don't even know if my uncle remembers what
people
it's from.
watching this. I remember loving this when I was a kid, and people said, "Why you like Sahara so much?" I remember Seth's brother,
Jay.
Yeah, he was like, "Why are you watching Sahara? That's the worst movie ever." And
you're wrong, Jay. Or you sound like this. You're wrong, Jay.
It was it was a fun action.
It was
adventure
enjoyable
movie.
and had a beautiful woman.
Yeah. And Matthew McConaughey.
And beautiful man.
Matthew McConaughey, yeah.
And Zahn.
And a hilarious man.
Zahn.
I mean, look at that funny face.
He's
That's
so
his
good
character
at
the
it.
whole time.
He's so good at it.
That's his whole character in
and,
this film.
He's one of those actors that he's just, I don't know, he's
his
funny.
presence is nice on screen.
He's
When
funny
the first
and
season
stuff.
of White Lotus, I'll be honest, a lot of people said the second season was better. I disagree. I think the first season of White Lotus was a lot more better than the second season.
A lot more.
And
better.
it has to do a lot with
With Zahn.
Steve Zahn.
He kind of carries that awkward, funny, dry humor.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good.
It's just
he
great.
did the same thing
Solid.
in Daddy Daycare. He did
was
the
in
same
it.
thing in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. He's just good as that character.
Yeah, he's a great humor. And I don't know, out of everything with this film and the waste of money, I enjoy it. I'm glad it was made.
I'm glad it was made. There's a lot
I'm
of
curious.
I'm glad the world is better because we have
Sahara.
Sahara because
That's
we
right.
have Waterworld.
Right.
You know?
Right. So these aren't like by enjoyment standards failures. They wasted a lot during the process, okay? So this film was $130 million. Opening weekend was $18 million. It grossed US Canada $68 million. So it didn't even hit the budget for US and Canada.
Oh, so this movie made no money.
And this movie grossed worldwide is $119 million, which is lower than the budget.
You know what? We didn't watch it in the movie theaters. We saw it later when it came out on DVD.
we saw it.
I think everybody saw this when it came out on DVD.
Nobody watched this in theaters.
It's the same thing with like
literally 18 million opening weekend.
with like The Princess Bride. It was they didn't spend any money on the marketing, and so nobody heard about the movie. The only person that I think I know actually went to see it in theaters was my dad, But the movie didn't start picking up traction until
got it on VHS.
It was on VHS, and it became a cult classic, and everybody had it, and everybody watched it,
and everyone giggled at it. Everyone giggled at it. So yeah, the Sahara literally has not made their budget yet.
They probably
haven't.
They might. No, they haven't. Now. According to IMDb, which 130 is estimated. Okay, but according to IMDb, they are nowhere. Still have a long ways to go before they make their budget. And who's watching Sahara and buying it these days? Not many.
I mean, it probably made its money with DVD sales, but it just. Who knows? I don't know.
All right, I think I have one more. Ready? Justice League.
Yeah, now, but they had to make like 6 iterations of this movie.
This is the first one.
Okay,
so this is when Zack Snyder left production.
This is the Joss Whedon cut.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So apparently, when Joss got his hands on the film, Zack Snyder had done most of it. He needed to do reshoots. All right. He looked at the film and he said, "There's a lot I'd like to add. I'd like to change the vibe of the whole film. It's a little too dark, and I want to change a bunch." Reshoots if there's like major reshoots, it's somewhere in the range of $10 million for a big film like this. Guess how much they spent on reshoots?
$50 million.
Well, you overshot.
No.
Split it in half.
30? 25.
$25 million for reshoots just to appease Joss's vision of this film, all right? That's probably why Zach did his recut, because he's like, he ruined my film.
Well, everybody was pushing for it.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
But it was a terrible recut.
It wasn't much better than this one.
No matter what you think about the recut, this 4-hour movie, it's at least more cohesive. It goes into the storylines Zach wanted to go into, and ultimately looks better.
Besides the 4:3 aspect ratio.
Besides the 4:3 aspect ratio and some of the CG, it's a more cohesive film, even though it takes longer. The Joss Whedon cut is a terrible movie.
All right, so as I said, reshoots rarely exceed $10 million. In this case, it was an unthinkable $25 million for numerous reasons. All right, so the primary factors, this is funny, I included this. Primary factors were the actors' busy schedules, which prolonged the reshoots, and the infamous Henry Cavill mustache debacle.
Yep.
Wait, what mustache?
Which saw his lip bush badly removed in post-production in the extra cost of several $1 million. Henry Cavill's mustache cost $1 million. I was going to Google it. I don't have a picture of it, but apparently they had to remove his mustache from the reshoots.
Oh, it looks terrible because it's like that little footage where it's on the phone and people are asking him, "Oh, Superman, what is something or another?" And he's like talking to him, but his face looks like this. It's like really weird and long, and his mouth doesn't. It's almost like his mouth moves around on his face.
Okay. Let me see if there's a good picture.
Ugh. Look at that.
That's funny.
Look at it.
His upper lip's off.
Because he was filming probably Mission Impossible.
Yeah, where he had the mustache.
He had the mustache. Yeah. Zoom out. Go to other pictures. Like this one over here, yeah. Right there.
What, this one?
No, beside it.
This one?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Doesn't look right.
That looks weird.
It looks so bad.
What's going on? They had to get rid of the mustache and they had to paint it frame by frame. It cost millions of dollars to remove his mustache in the reshoots.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yikes. And Mission Impossible is probably paying it more than the reshoots were.
Click that one. Ugh. He looks like Inspector Gadget He looks like the fake Inspector Gadget from the first movie.
Yes. It makes him turn into the the Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
His whole face becomes Uncanny Valley when you basically are CGing his upper lip.
Yeah, you guys remember when, they make the fake Inspector Gadget?
No.
And he's got the big fake teeth.
Never really was Inspector Gadget guy.
All right, a little mustache action.
Okay.
All right, it looks like you guys are done with this bit.
I mean, I would say there's probably there's a lot of movies like this.
Oh, there's tons. These are just
The Island
ones
of Dr. Moreau.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah, that I've heard of.
So much happened. There was conflict with the actors. With he was in The Godfather. He played the Godfather.
Oh, I heard about this. They talked about this in The Offer.
Not Pacino.
No.
Brando?
Yeah, Brando.
Yes.
So Brando was difficult. Val Kilmer was difficult. Everybody was difficult.
Right.
They were out in the middle of, the tropical nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
The people on set were getting cabin fever. There were apparently, they were going overtime, over budget. People were having orgies in the woods.
Oh, nice.
Wait, is this where Epstein's Island? Or maybe we can't say
it.
This.
Absolutely could have started with this, but I mean, it was just production hell.
Yeah.
And the movie made like no money.
What is it called again?
The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Look this up.
So it's like it's a book. H.G. Wells? I don't think it's H.G. Wells.
Let's see here.
Does it say who? Yeah, I think it is H.G. Wells.
I just want to see how much money it made.
Mm-hmm.
So the $40 million estimated.
Mm-hmm.
The total gross across everything's $49 million.
Yeah,
wow, that's not a lot.
They've brought in roughly $9 million.
But I mean, Kilmer left the set and then he came back, and then there was more issues, and man, there was a video I watched on YouTube. I don't remember what it was called, but it goes into detail about filming this movie, and it is wild. Yeah. I actually watched this movie when I was like 15 or something like that.
So in this case, the waste is probably a lot of waste, but the biggest waste is probably on the stars.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And Brando was just being
difficult.
So difficult. He in one scene he was hot, and so he's like, I'm gonna take this trash can full of ice and put it on my head. And they were just like, the director was just like, somebody wrap a scarf around it, and it's part of it's part of the scene. Yes. I highly advise that if you haven't seen The Island of Dr. Moreau, watch it.
We had a conversation about this, before.
That's just a difficult actors.
Insane.
Difficult actors experience, which honestly is, I won't. Okay, I'm gonna tell a story. Okay, and I'm gonna be careful. But even on shooting indie films, you feel really bad because most of the time you're not paying these actors.
Mm-hmm.
But even actors in indie films become a real headache. Okay? So, I'm gonna be careful. So, I filmed this one indie film where, first off, my lead, for some reason, could not get his lines. Now, that's common.
Yeah.
But when you're up at 10 o'clock at night filming, and you got a whole group of people doing a whole scene, and the lead person didn't study his lines, so he's got all these lines, and we're trying to get through it, and you can tell in the edit that it's constant cutting to try to mask everything he was supposed to say together.
Yeah.
Then there's another time where you're in between shots, and the lead actor shows up late, and he said, "Sorry, I lost track of time. I got upsetting news, and I was standing in my shower for 2 hours." And everyone's upset because the lead didn't show up on time because he was just standing in his shower. Over emotionalized individuals.
Wow.
I'll say this: actors who are creating problems unnecessarily is one of the biggest nightmares, and I've only had it on the small scale level where people's time is being wasted, not so much, and my personal money is being wasted, not so much millions of dollars. So I couldn't comprehend.
I think
what it's
I would
like
be
to
a
have
bad,
a star.
I would be a bad actor, but not a bad actor who's because I'm late, because I'm frustrating. But because I'm frustrating, I would be frustrating because I'd be like, "What's my motivation? I'm trying to get into character here. Could we hold on?"
But
I'm improvising this one.
yeah. But
I like to be dramatic.
You get a good director, they'll communicate that to you. Then all of a sudden you don't have any excuse to be a bad actor. They've given you everything you possibly need. You know what I mean? Especially those old actors. Oh, those old directors that were hanging out with Spielberg back in the day.
Yeah.
Who's the director of Godfather? I know I should know his name. I got him on my brain because
I don't know who you're referring to.
Let me see. Godfather. I just need to know his name so I can. He's an incredible director. Okay, so Francis Coppola. Yeah. Coppola. So he is an incredible director. He really is. And that's probably why he got The Godfather, even though no one really believed in it for a long time. But he's truly, and he was in that group of people with Spielberg. Like it was Coppola, it was Martin Scorsese, it was George Lucas, Spielberg. Those were the guys who all hung out together. They would go to the pool table, bars, and play pool and talk about their movies after a day of production. You know what I mean? So it was those group of people that always hung out. So you get someone like Coppola telling you what your motivation is, you're gonna be out of words. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he knows exactly he knows everything to tell you. He's got it down to a science.
I mean, it really is interesting how many movies, because there's so many. I don't think we could probably name them all. How many did this where it was like supposed to be a big movie, they wasted a ton of money, and it just nobody watched it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's more than you think. It's definitely some production.
It's probably a lot of your favorite movies. It's probably a lot of movies that you enjoyed that you grew up on because they just went straight to DVD.
Right.
Or, you only heard about it because you guys rented it from Blockbuster.
Right.
Or chose to go.
To go. All right. Thank you, Karina, for being a Patreon supporter.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it. You're the best. And if you want to get early access to episodes, if you want the exclusive pre-show, then just sign up for Patreon. You find it in the link in the description. Karina has signed up. She gets to enjoy everything a week early. She gets a whole archive of video podcasts. Well, there's the archive of the video versions of the Midnight Special there.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of content there. We got like what? I don't even know how much.
Hours.
We have days. We have days of content on Patreon that you can go binge watch or enjoy to get through your work days if you want.
That would get me through a couple.
Yeah. Thank you, Karina, for being a Patreon supporter. We love you. All right, next segment.
Yep.
Ready?
Ready.
So we are going to talk Tenet. All right?
Tentatively.
Hey. All right. And
what are we going to talk about it?
So we're going to really talk about the biggest controversy when it comes to this film and Christopher Nolan. There's two. One is a lot larger, so we'll hit that second. But first, we need to tackle the first one, which is complexity in sound mixing.
Oh, okay.
All right?
Yeah.
We're going to tackle these two issues. Now, the reason I'm tackling these is because the audience is split. Fans of Christopher Nolan are split hardcore. Some people cannot talk enough good about this film, and some people think it's Christopher Nolan's worst.
I don't think Josh falls into the second group.
No, don't speak for me.
Hold on.
Don't
hold
speak for me yet.
on. Hold on. I don't think Josh falls into the second group because I don't think your issue with this is complexity.
No.
You know, I think a lot of people found this confusing. I think a lot of people didn't understand what was going on, and we've established after watching the movie a second time, that's not why you dislike the movie.
No.
So explain why you dislike the movie.
Okay, so Wyatt spoke for me. I hate the movie. It's a terrible movie. It's one of James Cameron's work.
James Cameron, that's right.
James Cameron's testosterone problem was because no. Who did this movie? Now I'm thinking James Cameron.
If you're
Nolan.
Don't give it to him. If he's gonna bash, let him find it himself.
So mad.
I want him to go through his points.
All right,
okay.
Say it.
My mind is elsewhere now. I did not like this movie for basically one big reason. I watched it and I was a little confused. I watched it late at night for the first time and I was like, I'm a little confused, but okay. And then I watched it again because I wanted to understand it. And then I was like, wait, no, I didn't misunderstand it. It's a terrible movie. And this is why. I'll explain. I'm going to explain here.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So, Christopher Nolan is, most of his films, like Inception and stuff, there's very complicated things, and the storyline is very complicated, like Tenet, but there is a very simple through line that grounds the story.
Mm-hmm.
Inception, for example. The very small concept is they are trying to plant an idea to get a guy to dissolve this company. That's a very basic concept.
They're getting paid to do that.
They're getting paid to get a guy to dissolve his company. Let's just say that. Let's not talk about
his father's company.
Yes. There's that basic idea, and how they're going to do it is go into dreams and all that stuff. And that very, complicated thing with going into dreams and whose dreams they're going into, all this stuff. This movie was the complicatedness to it, but the very basic motivation was not there, in my opinion, or at least we didn't get enough of it.
I will say, just before you continue, the motivation for the movie comes later in the movie. It comes about the end of the first, beginning of the second act, and they kind of breeze past it, or they go past it quickly because the movie moves quickly.
Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why I don't like this movie, because just saying, and this is a spoiler, we're gonna have spoilers.
All right, you're spending a lot of time on your opinion. We gotta get to the conversation.
Opinion. My opinion is very important.
No, people want to breeze your opinion, and let's get to the content.
Going forward and backwards, as cool as that concept is dumb if you don't have a reason to go forward and backwards.
Right.
And so what do we have just of going forward and backwards?
I would say it's a little bit too much to say it's a terrible movie because you didn't like certain parts of it. It's still a very cool concept. Very well filmed movie, a very well acted movie, it's a good movie. It'd be like saying Top Gun Maverick is a terrible movie because I didn't like that, there wasn't enough of the villains.
Yeah.
No,
because there wasn't a through line. It's a terrible movie.
Because there wasn't enough dogfighting or something.
I don't think you can.
Because the whole film is training. The whole film is training for a fight at the end.
I don't think you can categorize a movie as terrible because of one thing you disliked about it.
The reason I dislike this film, the through line, you just said they do not talk about the idea of the film till the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we not get the idea of the movie at the beginning where we're supposed to have it?
Right.
Well, you don't need it at the beginning.
That's fact. That's not just my opinion.
But there is no secret agent film that gives you the through line up front. They always have to discover it.
I don't know. James Bond pretty most of the time
Mission Impossible.
It takes a while for the secret agent
hold on.
Always to find out.
Usually they establish James Bond is off doing something. He's maybe with a woman. He's finishing up a mission. He's, doing something. And then they come and they're like, well, James, 007, we have this person who's doing this thing and we want you to go figure out what's going on.
Why they're doing this.
Right. They don't say it. They don't have that happen, that there's a person doing a thing until the beginning of the second act, and then you don't figure out what his plan is until you don't figure out what the through line is until we get to like the end of the second act. So I will say the movie is
it's at the big turn. The second
movie
turn
breezes past it really quick because everything's moving very quickly. I don't think that's enough to say that it's a terrible movie.
If you added one more scene, it probably would have cushioned it.
A terrible movie is Strange World. That's a terrible movie.
I did not watch it, so I cannot talk about Strange World.
A terrible movie is Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh yeah,
that's terrible for a different reason.
That's a bad movie. To have one thing make a movie like a terrible movie, I don't think is fair.
That one thing, yes. I would agree with that statement you just said. But if that terrible thing is the story itself, then yes.
But there is a story. And the story, even though
pretty much not.
Even though the movie is
really
moving forwards and backwards, the story is linear.
Yeah, it is.
You just have to follow it. It moves quick, but you have to follow it.
I followed it.
It's a lot less. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Everyone said this is really confusing. Upon second watch, when you understand the concepts, which is built to watch it a second time, upon understanding that, it's actually easier to follow than something like The Prestige. The Prestige is incredibly difficult to follow. But
I'm not saying
the
you
Tenet
can't.
was easier.
We're not saying that
it's a bad movie.
We're not saying you're wrong. We're saying you're wrong by calling it a bad movie or a terrible movie.
No, I can call it a bad movie if
you disliking the movie.
If one character didn't fit quite right, then it would be like, okay, well, I don't like that character. That he's kind of thrown off the movie. But I can't say the whole movie as a whole is bad. But I can because the story itself is bad, and so. What? Even though the actors deliver their lines in a convincing way,
the story isn't bad.
It's bad.
No, the story
it's terrible.
The story isn't
it's a
bad.
Terrible movie.
It's a unique story with secret agent tropes.
The Secrets of Dumbledore is a terrible movie.
Yeah,
because
Secrets of Dumbledore and this have very similarities.
Because the story is bad and there's no real through line.
Yes, this movie.
This movie has a through line that is overshadowed by the complexity of the movie, which doesn't make it a terrible movie. It just makes it
a different movie.
It makes it a less accessible movie. Would you agree with that?
No.
You would.
I like the word accessibility.
You wouldn't say that it's less accessible.
Yes.
He goes over the top with the concept, and we don't get enough of the story from the beginning, enough of the characters from the beginning, which makes the entire movie less accessible to audiences.
I wouldn't say that's why it's less accessible. I would say it's less accessible because some people might not understand the forward and backwardsness to it, and it might be confusing to most people, so they don't have the accessibility of watching it and being like, oh, I understand the whole plot, and therefore I just don't like the movie because I don't understand it. That's not my problem with it, because I watched it twice to understand it and realized the second time, no, the first time I understood it, it just... the way they told it was bad, of there not being that concept at the beginning to ground this, the whole high concept that he was trying to tell. It makes it's a bad movie because of that. And I can say as a whole it's a bad movie because the story is the movie.
I'm gonna be honest. I disagree with you wholeheartedly. I think this is a brilliant genius before anyone else's time.
I would say Josh falls into a strange category because there's people who really like the movie, or people who enjoy the movie, and then the people who don't like the movie dislike it because of its concept, because the concept is confusing, because where we're going and how we're doing it is confusing, and Josh dislikes it because the storyline isn't the way he would like.
Isn't traditional.
It's not a traditional storyline. It doesn't follow a basic through line as much. It breezes past for the sake of concept.
You can't have concept without story, and he's basically just giving us concept with like very little story. And
no, not little story. It's a ton of awesome story.
So I would say that you fall into your own camp, which doesn't make you right.
It just makes it your opinion. That's what I'm saying. We're spending a lot of time.
Okay, as a whole, I'll say that it's my opinion. Yes, but I'll also say that this was Christopher Nolan's version of art, the story that he wanted to tell. So I'm going to give it to him. But just because that's like. Let me use this as an example. In You, I saw this episode already. They would go to an art gallery. The guy had placed one egg in the art gallery and was selling it for like $20,000. An egg that you could buy at the store for 50 cents. And he said, this is art, so we're selling it for $20,000. In it, Joe is like, that's criminal. Why would you? But it's the same with this. Christopher Nolan is saying that the egg is art. The movie's egg is art. But I'm saying an egg is just an egg, and that's terrible to say you'd pay $50,000 for it.
Look, I didn't finish. I say you're not right, but you're also not wrong.
Okay.
Because of the art thing.
No, he's comparing Christopher Nolan's unique hard work body of work and saying it is a piece of art that he didn't have to put any effort for.
No, I didn't say he didn't put effort. Because
no, that's what you're saying. You're saying basically the story has no effort in it. That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. You're saying it's a freaking
very high concept there, but without the basic through line, the high concept is null and void because there's nothing to ground it to give for me to enjoy the high concept because there's nothing to. Like, why do we have this high concept of going forward and backwards without the reason to go forward and backwards? There's no reason.
So there is a reason. It's because somebody's trying to blow up the world. And that's usually a pretty standard secret agent movie thing.
Yes, that's always the goal.
It is up to personal interpretation of what art is. Christopher Nolan put out the movie. He says, here's this thing, and everybody gets to interpret it differently.
Right.
I think the movie is complex and interesting, and what he does with the primary characters is unique. It's something we don't see very often, where he doesn't name our main character. He's just a kind of like a shadow who's moving through this world, and we're kind of learning about it with him. I think that's interesting. I think a lot of the movie's concepts are confusing, but I think a lot of them are interesting. And I don't think the movie is for everybody, and that's okay.
So I will agree with Wyatt. I 100% agree with everything Wyatt just said because let me go back to my egg analogy.
Good grief! Hurry up. We still have to cover sound mix.
An egg is only an egg. We pay 50 cents for it at the store, but who puts that value of the egg of making it 50 cents? You know, if you think about it, eggs are very unique. They have the yolk. They have
they're grown inside a living thing.
They're grown. It's artistic. Why do we as humans put value on this egg and say it's only 50 cents when it is very much a unique thing and it is special? But as a story, yes, I'm not going to accept it as a thing because I don't like that.
We actually established this on the Midnight Special.
Okay.
We said for a movie to be a piece of art, it has to be...
Or for anything to be a piece of art.
It has to be...
Is this the masterpiece story?
No, Wes Anderson covered it.
It has to be...
Argument that we had.
The director's intentions, along with the audience's...
acceptance of that?
Perception.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? So half of the audience perceives this as a piece of art. The other
Nolan's
half of the
intention versus audience comfort is also a part of it.
Oh, that's very good. So we split the audience, but I don't think that makes the movie less. I think this kind of conflict with this kind of movie, what we're talking about, makes the movie more interesting because if the movie wasn't interesting, if there weren't two sides of this, there'd be no point to argue about it.
Right.
Okay.
Right?
I agree. But
so the movie is interesting enough, it's complex enough to have more intelligent and interesting arguments over the movie was confusing and I didn't like it, or the movie was a masterpiece.
I will agree that
the fact that Nolan can split
sat
people
here and argued not just on this podcast, but outside of the podcast for probably, I would say, hours at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe days.
No, not days. But
maybe you two.
There's other stuff to argue about.
We've, on multiple occasions, talked about this movie and argued why it's not good and good. So I will agree. But if we're going to sit down and choose a movie, I will not put Tenet on because I will not watch Tenet because it's...
And you might.
For me...
And I would.
It's not worth watching.
Not because you give me the option to watch Tenet, I put it on every time.
No, I would rather put like Inception. Christopher Nolan has done so many good films. Let's watch Inception. Let's watch Interstellar.
Honestly, you give me a Chris Nolan film, I'll put any of them on.
Yeah, I'll put 90% of his stuff on.
Interstellar, I'm watching Interstellar.
Well, most people probably. Okay, I got to say this. We got to move to sound mixing. All right.
Okay.
And this is an online. Huge. Now, when Tenet first came out...
An online huge?
It was huge online. I'm trying to get my thoughts in order.
It's a big huge.
It's a big huge. Look, this is not argued because even major film directors reached out to Chris Nolan and said, what the crap's going on with your sound mixing,
bro?
Man? All right? Now, Chris Nolan has gotten this critique through pretty much all of his films since Batman Begins, all right? But... the worst of it came with Tenet.
Yeah. Can I, just off the bat, not knowing any reason why his sound is bad and all this other stuff, can I just take a crack at what I think? And I could be wrong with this. This could be wrong. But we talked about why Christopher Nolan, for Oppenheimer, we specifically talked about his filming, and he's doing some very unique things with Oppenheimer and still doing like film and stuff, because that makes it very, I don't even know how you said it, like the guild or something like that. No, remember we talked about the film for Oppenheimer and how specifically the type of stuff he does is unique because he uses his specific stuff.
I don't know what you're saying.
What's the point?
What are you trying to say? How does this apply to sound mixing?
He's trying to be too artful with his stuff to where it takes away from the basic sound cutting. There we go.
So he's not following conventional sound mixing with Tenet and with most of his films.
Because he's trying to be artful with it.
It's his intention is to say, I am trying to engage the audience. So he always approves. He's not overlooking sound mixing, and doesn't matter to him, so it comes out a bad mix. He is actually super involved with sound mixing. And he said every choice was to engage the audience. That means if you have a hard time hearing him, there's probably reason. For example, if you have a hard time hearing them, you're leaning in, you're trying to hear what they're saying, or it feels like you're actually in the middle of the situation. In Interstellar, when Matthew McConaughey and his kids are riding through in the car through the cornfield, chasing the little flying drone, right? Mm-hmm. Matthew McConaughey is screaming stuff, and some of the words you can't hear, but it sounds like you might be in that car with them, because like your dad might scream at you and you're like, what did you say? That kind of thing.
I would agree.
It's as if you're there.
Which is what I said, the art form of it.
Yeah, but you didn't explain what that art form was.
It's part
intended.
of the movie. It's supposed to make you more engaged, and I think a lot of people have a problem watching it because we want to hear what people are saying. Mm-hmm. But I think what Nolan's trying to tell us is that there's more to a movie than just what actors are saying.
Yeah, and he's breaking conventional sound mixing to do it.
Like the sound of the corn going under the car. That's loud.
Very loud.
Or
the gun going off. If you like when they're in the dream sequence for Inception, and they're talking amongst each other, and then they start hearing them like the subconscious fighting back, and they start shooting at themselves. The subconscious army. It is jolting how loud those guns are. In Inception.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think even in Interstellar, we've talked about this before with Anne Hathaway's character going on like a really exposition kind of spiel about love and about time. A lot of people don't like it because it's a lot of telling instead of showing.
Right.
And it's not subtle. There's no nuance. But the same with the sound mixing. He's putting this out as loud and on purpose because he's telling a specific type of story, and I think it makes it more interesting.
I think so too.
I will say as a whole, maybe not just for the sound, Christopher Nolan we're talking about this, so ultimately he is creating something that we want to talk about and something we enjoy watching, regardless if it's bad or not.
Okay, come on now.
But he's making something that we all are talking about enjoying, so maybe he is giving us something we didn't. You have to give them something that they weren't thinking they wanted, but they needed to watch.
The sound in Tenet, like the music, when the music is going forward, it's extremely interesting. Mm-hmm. When the music is going backwards, it's extremely interesting because the music going backwards, you can clearly tell it's going backwards, but it's specifically I think they specifically wrote the music to have a different tone going backwards to make you feel uncomfortable, out of place.
Yep.
But not to the point where it's like
it turns.
Like the music at the end of what was the movie we watched with Natalie Portman? They go into the bubble.
H something. I don't know.
I don't remember, but you guys, you've heard the music, I'm sure, on TikTok or on Instagram. Right. At the very end, it's like that. Wah, wah, wah,
yeah. Yeah.
That's supposed to be very eerie, make you uncomfortable. It's very loud. He's doing a similar thing where the music's going backwards that's supposed to make you know where you are in the story. And when you get to the end and we're going forwards and backwards all the time, having the music there
to guide you,
to help you, it's supposed to be part of the story.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't have a problem with the mix. It's just, or not the mix, the music choice, the music composing, the score. But it's a little forgettable compared to other Chris Nolan's films.
Oh,
and
yeah.
This is like one of the only films he didn't get Hans Zimmer's on.
Right. And Interstellar is the best, it's probably one of the best musical scores on the planet.
Yeah. Well, you about to sing John Williams, weren't you?
No.
Oh.
No, he was a bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
That's
it's beautiful. Now, okay, getting back to the score. Do we think it was just a bad mix? He shouldn't be doing this. He should stick to conventional standards. Do you like what he's doing, but you're worried it's not working well? Or are you like, I'm all in. If he's intentional about his sound, I'm taking it as it is.
No.
Because it's a part of the art.
Yes.
You're on that train.
I'm on that train because other directors aren't doing it. They're not focusing on the sounds of the world.
Okay.
They're not immersing us into it with the sound mixing.
What train are you on?
Okay.
Because he's done this with all of his films. It's just Tenet got the most heat.
I'll accept it to a degree because I still have to be able to hear the conversations. I have to hear what I'm supposed to be getting. And sometimes you might, he's trying to tell you a story of giving you this one sound and it makes you think something different, but yet I can't enjoy the story because of it. You remember on Prestige when they're at the funeral for the girl who drowned?
Yeah.
And Hugh Jackman's looking at Christian Bale. He's like, "What knot did you tie? What knot did you tie?" And he's like, "I don't know." And he's like, "You don't know?" And it's just, you're just kind of like, what the crap? And then as he's walking out, you hear Hugh Jackman just break all the decibels, and he's like, "You don't know!" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is the kind of feeling he's trying to bring you into.
Interstellar, you go from Earth where there's sound everywhere.
Yeah.
And then they go into space and there's nothing.
Yeah.
I think that was what, when I watched the movie the first time, initially got me. Because, we're so used to space movies.
Right.
You go in, there's always a boing. There's always like a bing, bing, bing when you're in the spaceship and like in music and stuff when you're in there. But in Interstellar, it's
something
just
from John Williams.
Quiet.
Yeah. I was going to do a little John Williams bit, but
yeah.
I'd imagine something composed by John Williams as you're entering space.
Mm-hmm. No, they enter space with Michael Caine giving the "Don't go quietly into that good night."
Oh, heck yeah.
And then silence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You're obsessed with Interstellar.
I'm gonna watch Interstellar.
What else we got? Was that
so we completed. You're on board. I think I didn't give my opinion. I think I'm here for it. Maybe he should run it by another director he trusts.
Yeah.
And say, is there anything I need to clean up? Just a tiny bit that you don't really capture my intention here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So maybe he should find a good friend he trusts who's also a director.
But you know what?
And you're not on board.
I'm going to watch... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go finish yours.
I'm going to watch Oppenheimer now, and I'm going to be listening for the things that
are loud,
that he's
intentional,
or that are quiet,
right?
That he's doing intentionally, because I think this movie's going to have a lot of it.
Oh, there's an explosion that
Silence
happens.
Before explosions.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to say this,
and
then I'm going to
pay attention to time. That's a huge narrative for Chris Nolan.
I'm going to say this, and you guys are not going to comment on what I'm about to say, and then we're going to drop it.
If you don't love this movie, I'm going to punch you in the face.
And then we're going to go to something else. No, I'm going to say something very controversial, and it's going to make people really mad.
If you make us lose subscribers, I'm really going to slap you.
No, I'm about to say this.
Say it.
Okay. Walking into this, I said this was a terrible movie, and I still think there's some things with it. But now that we've discussed it, I think Christopher Nolan has an art form, and he is trying to create an art form that I respect. I was saying that there was a pretentiousness to him that I didn't like, that he was trying to create something because it was pretentious, and I don't like art that's pretentious. So, but I'm
You're
accepting
calling Chris Nolan pretentious.
But I'm accepting a little bit. I'm accepting Christopher Nolan because I do see his art and say it is good. But I am not accepting someone like Quentin Tarantino. He's very pretentious, and I don't like his work.
Well, you're right. He is pretentious. But that doesn't mean he doesn't create awesome stories and engaging conversations.
I have to say, I went and watched Pulp Fiction with you guys for the first time.
Right.
And
you've never been so engaged in conversations.
It was an extremely engaging movie, and while it doesn't change my opinion about Tarantino, I do think
but
he's
you literally
pretentious.
get this for 10 minutes.
And it's interesting.
Yeah.
You can't take your eyes away.
No, Quentin Tarantino might not make the best films, but he makes you more interested in the characters than any other director.
I do think.
No.
Yes, Quentin Tarantino makes
you
connected
mean to open up
with
a whole
characters
other thing.
much
Let's
more than
move
any
on.
other
I
director.
said you guys aren't allowed to comment on this.
Pretentious, but
you can't make rules like that.
With Nolan, I think he's doing it on purpose because he wants it to be art for us.
Right.
For himself,
I'll agree.
For himself, yes, but also for us. And I think that's laudable.
And Quentin is making movies for himself.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think there's an element to Tarantino that's making it for the audience as well. He said, it's like, people ask what's in the suitcase. And he says, it's up to the audience. Mm-hmm. You put whatever in that suitcase that makes it valuable. Mm-hmm. So having that element of the audience being able to engage in the story and almost tell their own story, and it's different for every person, I think that's important too.
Yeah. You can't just bring up you can't say things like that and they'll be like, and you guys keep your mouth shut. You're not allowed to say a comment.
Because I know we're going to talk about Quentin for another 30 minutes.
Okay, well, if we want, we can, first off.
Okay.
Because you're only, 35% of this podcast?
35.
I think I'm at least 32%.
Why would you not say
33.5.
Why would you not say 1/3? Why would you not say 1/3?
I think in percentages. I do actually. Okay, 1/3 of this podcast, you cannot tell us what to do. And we can talk about Quentin if we desire. Especially this is my podcast episode.
Well,
I produced it.
Quentin is pretentious and
Okay,
like
to counter that point, Quentin is a genius when it comes to character writing and conversation.
Yeah, but
there it is.
Art form for art form, like an egg, is not art form when you can buy that egg for 50 cents.
Stop.
You keep using this egg because here's the problem. Eggs are a dime a dozen. The reason that it's
these
pretentious,
films are one of a kind.
The reason
the
reason it's pretentious.
Look at every indie filmmaker that thinks he's an artist.
No one does it like Quentin Tarantino.
The reason it's pretentious is because there are billions of eggs that are produced every day, and that's why saying one is art is pretentious.
Do you remember?
Movies are different.
Okay, movies are hard work.
Yes, I agree with that. Remember, we went to, this was when you were still living in Columbia. I came down and stayed with you overnight, and we went to this premiere film festival for indie filmmakers.
Right,
remember?
and yeah, they were trash, almost all of them, but
98% of them were trash because indie filmmakers want to create this art that's not art.
I'm telling you,
pile of garbage.
Listen,
they say it's art.
I agree. A lot of the time.
Most of the time, these are people that never stay in the field. All right, they go through a hipster phase. They're a filmmaker. They make one indie film in their film studies course, and then they because of the professor's connection, they get on a local theater and people pay money to come support it, and they ultimately suck. They don't understand the art form. We're not talking about those people. They don't even stay in the industry anyway. Those are like the kind of people who, I don't know, move to LA and end up like working as a PA on a reality TV show. You know what I mean?
And that's why all the stuff we have is so bad.
Exactly. No,
because those people are getting jobs in Hollywood.
You cannot compare Quentin Tarantino to those kind of people. All right? You can't. Because he's an actual genius filmmaker.
Have you seen Kill Bill?
No, I did not see Kill Bill. So I will
to be
not
honest,
say that.
Kill Bill's good.
I've watched podcasts with Quentin. I've seen a chunk of his work, and I'm saying that based off what I've seen.
He is.
I'm not denying that. I'm saying he's still a genius at character writing.
And I don't like a lot of his movies, but there's some. I like Kill Bill because it's like an anime. It's kind of like an anime.
Okay,
that's kind of why I like it.
We gotta talk about Shadow and Bone.
Yes.
All right, so season 2 is coming out in March. All right, so I'm
surprised this got a season 2. There weren't a lot of people talking about this.
We did a video on it, and it got us like 2 views.
Yeah.
So, but I wanted to put it out there because me and you watched the whole first season. You read the book, I think.
I did.
And you have not. But I will say this. With the fold, with the concepts, with the Grisha, with the normies or whatever, the regular people, the heists that are mixed in here. This is a complex, interesting story.
Yeah.
I think this is my position. I want you to share yours. I think the characters are lacking, and maybe the writing for the characters is the thing that's lacking. I don't know. But I mean, the villain's awesome. The guy who created the fold, who survived at the end of season 1. Spoilers.
Prince Caspian.
Yes, Caspian.
He is a very engaging character.
I always forget.
But he's also the villain, and he's way more interesting than the lead.
So let me say this about the show. It seemed to have come out in this time of before the like identity politics invaded everything.
Right.
So while the movie has certain Hollywood things.
Hey.
Ooh, really zoom in there.
Would you stop giving
Ben Barnes.
I want to look at Ben, not this girl. I want Ben.
Okay,
Yeah,
Ben.
Barnes.
What of it? He's an engaging character in the show.
He is. So this movie doesn't do too much of the identity politics or the woke Hollywood stuff.
Oh no, they made a good character.
And the characters are engaging enough. I think there's stories that are really enjoyable. And I will say, don't get on me for this, but the story does take a detour to talk about these other 2 characters.
Which ones? We talking about them? Jasper
No.
and Kaz?
No, those are the heist characters.
Right.
It talks about these other 2 characters. One is a like a blood render or something that can affect your emotions and stuff, and the other is from another country who what they do is they capture and
Nina.
Yeah, Nina and the other guy. They kind of go on this adventure together.
I think it's Matthias.
Yeah.
That captures Nina.
Yeah. They go on this adventure together, and it's this love story.
That leads...
Right? But now it ties in later. But it's one of my favorite parts of the show because I like watching them fall in love.
Yeah.
And even though that's one of my biggest criticisms of The Last of Us,
right,
is taking away from our primary characters.
For some reason.
This also tells a different story of like the relationship between this other country and the Grecians.
Yeah. So it's the non-Grisha basically want to annihilate and think that the Grecians are witches and should be killed.
Yeah.
It's like it's the prejudice thing, right?
But the story I think the story is overall enjoyable, and having read the book is boring.
Oh, really? Is the show better than the book?
Yes, because the book focuses entirely on Alina as she goes to learn about her magic power.
Right.
And that's it.
Which she's the sun summoner, by the way.
Yeah, you spend time with her throughout the entire book.
Yeah.
And it is boring. Whereas in the show, you get her, you get her friend, who
is this guy
Maul. You get Maul, and then you get the crows. So Kaz, Jasper, and Inej.
Yeah,
and of course Nina and Matthias. There's a lot in the show. It's a lot more complex. It's enjoyable.
I'll say this. Okay, I think they were trying to do the Game of Thrones thing.
Mm-hmm.
However, they were bouncing around from character to character really fast, and I don't feel like I've grabbed onto anybody. Like, I don't think I've resonated or care about anybody in this show yet. We're already going into season 2.
I like Maul. I like Kaz.
But you actually felt connected with them?
Yeah.
Like because I watched it and I'm like, I'm trying to invest in the story, and it's like as I'm getting close to a character, they switch and tell a whole nother story for 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, where the frick am I going? Like, they're doing the too many characters Game of Thrones thing and not doing it right.
I like the side characters. The main character, she's the girl who is the key to everything. Mm-hmm. That trope, and it's annoying. But they also, in the end, they don't win. they just don't lose either. They escape.
Yeah.
Which is more interesting than they also don't do this thing where when she uses her power at the end and she defeats the bad guy, she doesn't just like destroy the fold.
No, she says it's too strong
It's
and
too
I'm too
strong.
weak right now.
I can't do it. I need to get better at this, which is
hold
good.
on. To be
Hold on,
fair,
wait a minute.
that is the same storyline as Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Right. Yeah, you got it.
I need to train.
You got to train. You got to get better. And, you know, I think there's enough through lines. There's enough character development for all the side characters to make it interesting enough to have a season 2. And it's at least this season that came out how many years ago, too?
No, it was
Year and a
a
half?
year and a half.
I think it's enough.
Maybe only a year. I don't know.
It's enough to go for a second one, but I'm worried that the second one is going to be like Rings of Power.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, maybe.
These characters have depth. They have more depth than Rings of Power characters.
Okay, General Kiergan, he's actually interesting and has discovered something new about himself at the end of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically the powers of the fold that his ancient being character ended up creating through an emotional traumatic event. He almost dies, but he survives at the end of season 1 and ends up finding a new power about himself. He can basically take the dangers of the fold with him. He doesn't have to bring people into the fold to catch them, right?
And there's a lot about his character that is understandable.
Yeah, and
right?
And sympathetic.
And sympathetic.
Very sympathetic.
He's like, look at all these countries around our country. And they all want something. They all want to take advantage of us, but we have this large, massive weapon that's
barrier.
just this barrier that we could move around and use to control people. You know? And we don't have to let them push us around because we have this. And I can control it. So what's the problem?
Let's use
here?
it to our advantage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I although he might have some screwy ideas, as a person, I mean, he was very he almost didn't feel like a super old character, because you would imagine a super old character is so set in their goals and mindset because they've been around for so long. He felt like a 30-something-year-old man who could change based on an experience he had, whereas you don't see that as much with ancient beings.
Yeah.
Like Dracula's not going to stop sucking people's blood because
I think
he found somebody that he kind of liked.
I think
know what I mean?
Kaz is an interesting character. I think he's going to be
Mr.
He's kind of
Limp.
like what's his face in Arcane. He's like
what's his name?
The villain.
Silco?
Yeah. He's like a Silco character, and I like that character. He's he's kind of like good.
He's a little young. He looks like Babyface a little bit.
Yeah, he's young.
He looks like you. He looks
really
like he could
does.
be your age.
You could play
This
that
guy,
character.
He's like your age, and he's supposed to be like a genius. He has a limp. He dresses like an old man, but he looks like you. It's like if you put on a top hat and a suit and had a cane.
Yeah, I like him because he's an intelligent
accept
character who...
I don't know this character, but okay.
He looks like a boy.
He knows how to strategize. He knows what he wants. He's very much like Silco, and I think he's going to be a more interesting character moving forward. And from what I've heard, a lot of people like the Crows books better than the Shadow and Bones books.
Which maybe that might lead to them getting their own Netflix season.
If this is good.
If Shadow and Bone season 2 works. But that's all. I mean, that's all I really wanted to cover. I just wanted to share a few thoughts before season 2 came out, get a refresher, and help people understand kind of the concepts of it if they haven't seen season 1. So if you're interested, you can pursue it. All right, so we're finishing with 30-second stories, something you two came up with, or a remix version. So we have to give 2 prompts each, and then Wyatt has to come up with a story using those prompts. Did you forethink these prompts, or are you coming up with them?
I'm coming up with them right now, but I got you. Cadbury cream eggs. And I want to say another food, but no, I'm going to say a knife.
All right, here it goes. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Getting your first ear piercing with your dad?
That's 2 things.
No.
Okay.
It's one thing. Getting your first ear piercing with your dad.
That's too much of a... You need like one prompt, like a thing.
Who made up these rules? You two. Do you take that out?
Yeah, no, that's a prompt.
All right, that's a prompt. All right.
Seems like a lot.
And podcasting. There you go.
Okay.
All right. Tell me when you want 10 seconds to start. I don't know if this is going to be a hard one.
Hold on.
What?
Oh, media near full.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll finish up.
All right.
Ready?
10 seconds.
Here we go. And 10 seconds started. I wonder what he's going to come up with. I wonder. And go.
So there's this young podcaster. He goes out with his dad to get his ear pierced. He wants to kind of rekindle that relationship. As they're out, they get attacked by the Cadbury cream egg monsters that have been erupting out of London. They kill his father, and he's upset. So he grabs his dad's classic Buck 119 off of his hip, and he starts going on a crusade, killing Cadbury cream eggs, cutting them open, spilling that juice out. And he's podcasting the entire time. He's telling his story, his revenge story, how he's going to destroy all the Cadbury cream eggs. As he moves through and kills them, he's trying to find the source, and he's talking about it on his podcast.
All right, stop. So you went 47 seconds, and I liked everything you did. I did take note. The 30 seconds stopped when you said, and the whole time he's podcasting about it. And I was going to see if you brought the first thing, the podcaster bit, back in at the end, but you brought it in at 32 seconds. So you were
that was kind of the plan all along. The plan was he's podcasting.
And why was he in London? You just threw that in. We didn't say anything about London. You said, and he's in the city at London. You said that.
Where do Cadbury cream eggs come from? England.
Oh, is that? Oh, a little backstory.
Yeah.
That's funny. He knows.
So they though? So I didn't know that.
So why would they?
Wait. Yes. You hate Cadbury's and you know that
ready
fact?
for a fact check.
I know.
That's got to be a thing. That's got to be a
British.
thing.
They're an English candy.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where do Cadbury?
They're a UK thing, bruv.
Come from? Oh.
Images.
UK.
Oh wow.
That's not London, but
at the Bourneville factory in Birmingham in the UK.
That's
Birmingham is where Peaky Blinders takes place.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Shelby.
Yeah. So you guys didn't think I could connect all of that together.
I was hoping you would circle it back to podcasting because you started with, we have a young podcaster and he's going to get his ears pierced with his dad, and I'm like, okay, how else does the podcasting?
My plan all along was for him to be podcasting throughout, but I was like, how do I establish that why would he be podcasting this? So I had to establish that he's a podcaster.
Yeah, which the establishing was Arrows, seeing if it would make it
and
circle.
Also British.
Yeah, which is your own ad.
Yeah,
your own additive. So you made it more difficult for yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Do you? What?
I know what you're doing. You're trying to end the show, so you always try to end the show with like a question, like a conversation.
No, I actually wanted to bring up because during the episode, you started feeling like you were leaning more towards Christopher Nolan and Tenet.
No, I'm not accepting Tenet. No.
So you're still hard nosed.
Yeah.
Then what was the point of podcasting about it? He didn't change his mind.
You brought the topic.
But you never change your mind. You're freaking.
No, I change it.
Yeah. No, you don't.
I still want some of that mellow mushroom though.
I forgot.
I ain't gonna forget about nothing.
Yeah. You're not gonna forget about anything?
I forgot about something, probably.
Yeah.
This is a weird way to end it.
You forgot about how you enjoyed Tenet.